Hey, what's up there, YouTubers and those who may be watching this on Facebook? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. I believe it's exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. In 2004, Activision, along with Raven Soft, released a little-known game known as X-Men Legends. This game was sort of a action RPG, though, with using the Marvel license and so forth, and it was sort of a top-down game. Very similar to kind of like how Diablo was to a certain degree, and it was considered a hit, and basically a lot of people enjoyed the game. A lot of people enjoyed the gameplay and so forth. There was a sequel that would be released, basically called X-Men Legends 2: Rise of the Apocalypse, before the game would also be released in 2006, which would be their new entry. That's not X-Men Legends, but it would be known as Marvel Ultimate Alliance. This is a game that will use all the Marvel characters and put them in gameplay that is very similar to that of what X-Men Legends 1 and 2 were before. The game would be released on the PS3, the 360, and also the PS2, and also on the Nintendo Wii, and a sequel would later follow up. But after the second one, though, the series kind of sort of disappeared or sort of faded out a bit. Fast forward to 2018 at the time, and Marvel is in a little bit of a different. Marvel certainly is in a different situation. The company got purchased by Disney in 2019, and the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has been a very huge success at the box office. So it was also kind of interesting to see in 2018. During the Video Games Award, that we would see a new entry in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, known as Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, that would be not only developed by Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, but it would also be published by Nintendo. And it was kind of a little surprising to hear, if I remember this correctly, that Nintendo would basically fund this game, especially after coming off Marvel's, also one of their successful game in 2018, Marvel's Spider-Man, exclusively for the PlayStation 4. So now that the game has finally come out, the question is, does the game hold up as well as the other entries do? And I will say, to a degree, yes, it is still a fun game, but not without its flaws. So why don't we get started with the pros and the cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one I do want to say is the visuals. And I will say the graphics are pretty nice for this game. I mean, it's not going to be like mind-blowing or blow people away or anything like that, but I like the comic book cel-shaded look that the game does go for it, though. I also think it's kind of interesting to see some of the characters, some of the art styles for the characters look nice, especially some of them look almost kind of like their MCU counterpart in a way. I mean, you have Rocket Raccoon that looks almost close to the Rocket Raccoon from the MCU, while other ones like Gamora, on the other hand, don't exactly look like her MCU counterpart. I could say the same thing with Scarlet Witch as well. I do want to say, the next thing I do want to talk about is the story, and I will say, the story is good. I mean, it's not anything to write home about, though, but it is enjoyable, nevertheless. It's basically it's basically the telling of the Marvel hero stopping Thanos from getting his hands on the Infinity Stones and all that part. Basically, it's almost kind of like a retelling of Marvel's Avengers Infinity War and Endgame in a way, though. But it doesn't exactly follow the MCU. There is some, you do get somewhat of a degree of an MCU vibe out of it, though, and you can see some areas where the MCU has influence, but the difference between the two is the fact that, well, you have the X-Men actually in it, though, fighting Thanos and so forth, compared to how it was in Infinity War and in Endgame, which at the time Marvel was waiting to get back the rights for, the X-Men and so forth, though. The next thing I do want to talk about is the gameplay, and the gameplay is fun and enjoyable. It follows an approach very similar to that of what X-Men Legends and Marvel Ultimate Alliance does. It's a light action RPG type of a game, though. There are some new elements, though, in it as well, such as, I think, the ability when you fill up like a yellow meter in here, you could do like a special move and so forth. And if you time it right and you get all your characters, all 4 of your characters meter filled up, you could do like a huge amount of damage and so forth. So gameplay has some new features, plus considering the fact that Koei, Tecmo, and Team Ninja develop it, though, you do get some sense of a little bit of a Warriors vibe out of it to a degree, since although it is worth pointing out Omega Force isn't really I don't think they helped develop, though. I think it's just Koei, Tecmo, and Team Ninja as well. So, but gameplays wise, it's fun. It's similar to how X-Men Legends 1 and 2 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 is, with some few new things thrown into it. And last but not least, though, is the thing that they added into this game called the Lab. Basically what this does is that when you level up your character or you destroy certain items or defeat certain enemies, you'll get in-game currencies and I think these are certain points, though, that can be used to basically unlock a certain grid. Now, for what I've heard, the grid is kind of similar to what was in Final Fantasy X, and to some degree it is. The thing with this one is that every time you unlock a certain grid, or to unlock a certain grid, though, you have to use in-game currency and these certain like orbs or like these kind of points, though. When you use those, you can unlock, say, like improve your character's strength, improve resistance to a certain item, a certain thing like lightning or so forth, or improve their vitality, increase their health, and so on. And the thing about this is that this basically will impact all the characters. So it's not like you're basically playing when you unlock this, you only unlock the characters you're playing. It will unlock all the characters, which is nice indeed, and it does help cut down the grinding a little bit in this game, though. So it is certainly a nice feature that they added into Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Although you can replay past levels to sort of help level up your characters and so forth, so you could do that to help. So there is some grinding, though, although it is kind of neat. It's interesting to play as the defenders, playing in the first level with the Creed ship and so forth. So there is certainly some interesting, though. Plus there's the infinity parts where you could do these challenges, which also help level up your character as well. Plus you can unlock cosmic cubes, which can help speed up the process as well. But the Lab, I do feel, is a nice addition, and it kind of helps. It does help cut some of the grinding down in this game. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, which are the cons. So we'll take a little bit of a break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And we'll start with the first one, and that has to do with the Lab. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that I talked about how the Lab helped cut down some of the grinding in the game, and that certainly is a good thing. Unfortunately, it's not without its flaws, and one of those flaws is that in order to unlock certain spots in the Lab, though, you need either the in-game currency, or I think these are like certain points or little sphere things that you have to use to unlock certain parts of the grid. And in order to get those sphere things, you have to level up your character, which can be a little bit difficult, because there are certain times when you go into the Lab, you see like, okay, you need this certain amount of in-game currency and this certain amount of spheres. Sometimes they may need 16 or 30 or like 100, and it can be a little bit difficult, and there are certainly some grinding with it. Some of it is going to have to replay certain levels. Other parts are going to be Basically, you have to do the infinity and all that stuff to level up your characters and so forth. So it can be a bit of a slog, no. So on one hand, the lab can be a helpful thing, but on the other hand, it can also be sort of a annoying thing as well. The next thing I do want to talk about is the frame rate in the game. Now, I do want to say, I want to point out that for the most part, the frame rate seems to be fine, despite what is going on the screen, even when playing it in portable mode or in console or in dock mode. That said, I did notice there are times when the frame rate kind of takes a dip, and this happens mostly... Rocky, come on. That's my cat. This happens mostly when, basically, when you're performing like a special move, or like when you fill up like the yellow bar and so forth, and when you perform, like have your entire group perform the special move, it basically can... sometimes the frame rate can somewhat take a hit, and it's pretty noticeable. The most noticeable I've seen is when playing the game in portable mode. So there are some frame rate issues. Does it ruin the entire game? The answer is no, it doesn't ruin the entire game entirely though, but it is noticeable sometimes. The next thing I do want to talk about is the camera. And Rocky, come on, that's my cat. There are times when the camera can sometimes be sort of a issue. It doesn't ruin the game entirely. It doesn't make the game unplayable, but there are times when the camera can get into a bit of an angle, and that could be a problem sometimes, though. And so there are times when, like, there's something in front of it and you can't move the camera, or sometimes the camera goes into a fixed position. So it can be an issue in some cases, and it can also be a big issue if you're like playing the game in a 4-player co-op. That can really become somewhat of a bit of a problem. So does it make the game unplayable? No, you still have some camera control over your characters. You do have options to change to certain angles and so forth. So it doesn't... All right, Rocky. Okay, come on. That's my cat. He's attacking my feet. So you do have certain controls over your camera, but there are times it can be an issue, certainly at some times. No. And last but not least, though, I do want to... Alright, hold on. And, alright, sorry about that. It's my cat is basically attacking my feet. I had to sort of stop him a bit. Anyway, last but not least, I do want to point out is when playing the game in single-player mode, your other characters are controlled by, your AI bots, those. And for the most part, they do a pretty good job, but there are times when it can be sort of a hit and miss to a certain degree. Sometimes where, let's say, for example, and this one example I can think of is like when fighting Kingpin in, say, the Shadowland, when he fires off, I think, a beam using the crystal on his little stick, when you're controlling your character, you can easily move out of the way. You could dodge and so forth. When the AI is controlling the character, on the other hand, they could take a hit, and that could be a bit annoying, though. Once you level up your character, and once you sort of improve your character's status in the lab, though, it doesn't really become a huge issue, but it does get annoying every once in a while. Overall, I have to say, I'm having fun with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. The gameplay is enjoyable. It follows the approach that X-Men Legends 1 and 2 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 did. Add some new stuff here and there, though. The story is still enjoyable. It has some sort of bit of a Marvel Cinematic Universe vibe to it, and the gameplay, like I mentioned, the gameplay is fun, and having the lab in here kind of helps cut down some of the grinding in the game, though. It's not 100% perfect, however. The camera can be an issue sometimes. There are some frame rate issues, mostly when doing special moves, and we'll see if they iron those out with an updated patch and everything like that. And of course, when playing in single player, your AI partner can be a hit and miss, but it hasn't stopped me from enjoying the game. So if you're a fan of X-Men Legends 1 and 2 or Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, I would say and you have a Nintendo Switch to be exact since it's a Switch exclusive, I would say give Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 The Black Order a go. I think it's a fun game despite some of its flaws, and I don't think it's as bad as some reviewers have made it out to be. Okay, this concludes my video review of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 The Black Order. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 The Black Order? Do you think it is a fun game? Have you picked up the game yet at all? Do you think have you enjoyed it on the Nintendo Switch in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below of this YouTube video, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icons for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!